everyone. So, in as consequences for taking the Traxxas backslash, or which is actually a slash 4x4 that I converted to an 8th scale buggy, to the skate park, you can see we have done some serious damage to the spur gear. Also stripped the pinion. Let me go ahead and clean this off real quick here. There we go. So, got a new part here from Traxxas. It is 3956X. Y'all can see that. There you go. They do sell another version of this that I've seen online, which is a different tooth count. But I'm just going back with the stock tooth count that I have, which is 54 tooth. And I'm going to show you all how to change one of these out. Shouldn't be anything too complicated. This will also give me a good chance to look inside here and see how the spider gears, or whatever you want to call them, have held up to 4S abuse. Just for clarification, this is the center diff from a I'm gonna say like a Traxxas Haas or something like that. These didn't originally come in slash 4x4s. This is a different truck, but it does fit that chassis. So, as I was saying, it is not meant to hold up to 4S power. It's out of a 3S truck, I do believe. So, yeah. If you notice my thumbnail being painted, just ignore it. That's my niece over at family's house for Christmas. And she decided to get into some fingernail polish. Go. Alright, we're just going to pull all these out. Be careful not to pinch or tear any seals when taking it apart, because I don't have the internals to this. Man, there were some small screws. I hate that. I don't understand why people use such small screws. I mean, this is literally what mates the spur gear to the rest of the carrier. I mean, all your power has to go into the spur gear and through these 4 little screws and into this housing in order to turn the gears inside and spin your out drives. And these 4 little screws are all that holds that power. I've always wondered why they don't use bigger screws. Or more, you know. This is 4. It'd be interesting to see them use 8. Like, you know what I mean? It's just weird that they use such small screws. But I'm not an engineer. So, not up to me. I wish it was. Now see, here's my problem though, right? If you build something so good that it doesn't break, then you only sell one. And that's not a good way to keep a company afloat. So, I'm just going to kind of, there we go. To me, all the internals look good. There's your inside of your center diff. Okay, so we're going to pop out our outdrive gear. Now be careful when you do this, because a lot of times there will be a gasket behind it or a seal of some kind. You see this paper gasket here, or is it paper or rubber? It's like a hard rubber. Okay, that's got to be transferred over to the new gear. And is there a seal in here anywhere? Sorry, y'all can't see that. That's my bad. I'm just scraping around this inner edge real easily and gently, and there doesn't seem to be a rubber seal or washer or anything in there. No, nothing in there. Did it come out with the outdrive gear? Yes. Alright, there you go. Mine came out with the outdrive gear, but sometimes they do stay behind. I don't know if you see that little blue rubber O-ring in there. This is a thing, I don't know if everybody does it. I would assume everybody has their own way of doing it, because you've got to contain your grease in your diff, and you don't want it leaking out around the back of this gear. So I'm assuming everybody's going to have like a rubber seal here, so just keep an eye out on that. And this goes for center diffs or front and rear diffs. Any type of fluid filled differential, you're going to have seals. So just keep an eye out behind your outputs and your where your spur gear mates to whatever it is. You know, just take a look at those and make sure you're not leaving anything behind if you're swapping this out. But this looks fairly nice, so we're just going to plop it back down in there, like so. And then we're going to situate this gasket back where it belongs. In this particular diff setup, you can't really see them because they're small, but these are like dowels, and you see the corresponding holes in the gasket. So we're just going to put the gasket on and center it over those little dowels there. Make sure everything's in place, and it literally just fell into place, easy as that. Now I don't have any fluid, or I would change this, but man, that is some thick fluid. Yeah, only thing I have is my what do I use for front and rear? I can't remember, but it's not going to be anywhere near thick enough for a center diff. So there we go, old and busted out, and new and hotness in. I'll line up these holes with this here. If you look, you can see the blue through the holes. I may not have good enough lighting. There you go. We're just going to kind of twist and adjust that. Now you can see the dowels lined up with it. And one more over. Oh, wait. Do those dowels actually key into... Oh, wow. Look at that. The dowels actually key into the pinion or spur gear as well. That's cool. I didn't notice that. That is awesome, because in some cases lining up these holes, you can't see jack, and to have that actually physically indent or mate to it in a way that you can't get it wrong. Because if we look at this, we put it in there sideways, see how it moves? Just twist, and it snaps right into place, so you know that you're lined up. That is awesome. I'm used to working with like differentials and not center diffs. This is the first center diff I've ever done. It's the same concept, but yeah, the diffs I've messed with don't have that little feature. That is nice. I should probably thread lock these, but the screws still have old thread lock on them. Let me go grab my thread lock, because I'm just going to redo it anyways, just to be on the safe side. I'll be right back. Alright, general rule of thumb when it comes to thread lock, if you want it to come back apart, use blue. Now, they do sell red thread locker. This does not come loose easily. You have to like heat it up with something for it to break loose. So if you want to be able to get the screws back out, use blue. Else you'll never get it apart again unless you get it hot. Okay. Everything's lined up. I can see the screw holes. We don't have gasket in the way. Oh, well, you can see that. I see it kind of. Nice shiny new gear. This is a blind hole, and I watched a video recently. Apparently with blind holes, you don't put the thread lock on the screws, you put it down in the hole. That way, as the screw goes down, squeezes the thread lock up through the threads. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to put a dab of thread lock in each one, and then put the screws in. So that's apparently how that works. How do I get this off? There we go. Just gonna put like a little dab in there, nothing too extreme. grease on it. Another thing is, when you're first putting this in, don't tighten it all the way down. You want this spur gear to be on here equally. If you tighten one end one side all the way, it may clamp it in a certain area, and then your gear is off centered and you're gonna wobble and your gear mesh is gonna sound horrible and all that good stuff. So we're just gonna get these kind of finger tight like that. And I'm going to back it back off a little. We're going to do that same thing all the way around. Probably put a little too much thread lock in there a while ago, so put a little less this time. Now, since we got 4, we're going to tighten them like this: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, because again it could pinch it down sideways and then these two won't seat properly and you get a wobbly spur gear. So just go across from one another. If you've ever tightened the lug nuts on a vehicle, same basic concept. Clean up this so I can make sure of one more thing. These screws are countersunk, so if for some reason they're popping up above the surface of this gear, you've got an issue and you need to take them back out and make sure that all of them sit flat. They should be flush, not popping up. Alright? Just give them a little torque. I don't want to get them too tight. You'd be surprised just how much clamping force you can get out of a screw that size. I can't remember the exact numbers, but just from those 4 screws alone, once they're tightened down, I'm going to ballpark it and say you probably have easily 30, 40 pounds worth of clamping force holding this together from those 4 screws, even as small as they are. And quite honestly, you may have more than that. You can get some insane clamping force out of screws. It's nuts. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, there you go. Traxxas center diff replaced, the spur gear replaced on it, and ready to go back into the vehicle and start a new life. One more thing before I stop. I've got pliers here. Another thing to do is to grab your out drives. Make sure that once you do get it back together, everything still spins freely. You don't feel a bunch of cogging and grinding, because sometimes you will have the gear mesh in there too tight, and if that's the case, then sometimes they come with a little spacer ring. I don't see why it would be too tight from stock, but if you're replacing it like this and you put it together and notice that there's just a bunch of friction and the teeth are clattering and things like that, you may need to go back in and make sure that your gear mesh inside is set right, and that is done by using shims, so keep that in mind. But other than that, there we go, back together, ready to go back in and be abused by 4S power. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.